Hey everybody, welcome to Potter's Plant-Based Adventures, and today we're going to be making a homemade meatball, vegetarian meatball sub sandwich.
This is one of my favorites.
It's going to be really good. We're going to be making our homemade vegetarian meatballs. We're going to make a red sauce, and we are going to bake some bread to put it all together. So I've already got things started, and I've got a pan heated here. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of a neutral oil. You can use canola oil, olive oil, even grapeseed oil would work well. And then we're gonna add our vegetables. Vegetarian meatball. So we've got 8 ounces of mushrooms. I use cremini mushrooms. I just like those better than button mushrooms. You could use white button mushrooms that are sliced. And I've sliced them kind of thick because we're gonna end up pureeing these anyway. So that's about a ½ inch thick. And I also have I have a ½ of a cup of yellow onion that I've diced and 3 garlic cloves that I've minced.
This is actually my favorite way Kenny makes vegetarian meatballs. There's so many different ways to make it, and he has experimented with a lot of them. We've made them with just the veggies, right?
Yep.
We've made them with veggies and with the meat protein alternatives. We've made them with just the meat protein alternatives. This way is my favorite, and you guys are going to see why. They really are amazing.
I'm going to start the heat for our pan for our sauce. And what's really unique about this particular recipe is it's kind of a hybrid of what Sarah just talked about. We got the veggie version of the vegetarian meatballs we've done in the past, which is just made with vegetables. And then we're also going to bring in a plant-based protein. We're using Impossible Browns to mix with this. So it's like a half and half. So you get something that's still meaty, but has a lot of softness to it.
Yes, exactly. I love to explain to people. So I had an aunt who had a friend who was like from Italy. Her and her family were from Italy. And when I was a kid, they had us come over and her friend made meatballs. And these were like unlike any meatball I'd ever had before. I know that she used 2 different kinds of meat protein in there. One of them I believe was like veal and something else.
Classic for meatballs.
This was before, when I was a kid, I didn't even know what I was eating. But I remember that I bit into them and they were so soft. Like I never had a meatball that was that soft before, that literally felt like it melted in your mouth. It was just, the consistency was like unlike any other meatball I'd ever had. So I've never had a meatball like that before or since, until Kenny started making meatballs this way. And the first time I bit into them, I was like, this has the exact consistency of those meatballs that my mom's Italian friend made. So if you're used to like the denser, like regular old, just like meat stuffed meatball, this consistency might seem a little off to you. But if you are ready for like the real Italian style meatball, this is gonna blow your mind.
So I've added a tablespoon of oil to the pan we're gonna make our sauce in. And I have 3 minced garlic cloves that we're gonna add to that.
We really like garlic.
Lots of garlic. And normally, if it was just me, I'd probably put a little extra garlic in there. But we'll start with 3. You can always add more as you try this recipe out. So within the saucepan, we just want to get that garlic kind of going, get it fragrant so it starts to saute. You don't want it to go in there too long. It'll start to brown, and when that happens, it changes the flavor profile of the garlic, which will affect your sauce.
Okay.
So
I did not know that.
yeah, it's just starting to sizzle up there. We'll really just give that about a minute, and then we'll keep that sauce going. Our veggies are sauteing up real well. Give that a stir. Just go ahead and season our mushrooms and onions.
The rest of us use a spoon.
So I got a ½ of a teaspoon of kosher salt, a 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, ½ of a teaspoon of dried thyme, and a teaspoon of oregano to go in and season our mushroom, onion, and garlic mixture.
Yeah. I could eat that I could eat that just as it is, you guys. Mushrooms, onions, garlic, all cooking up like that. That is like my happy place. I literally start grabbing and pulling from this as it cooks.
See our garlic is sizzling in here?
Oh yeah.
See that in there?
It smells
it's
so good,
sizzling.
you guys.
You can smell it. It's ready to go into the next stage.
Yes.
We're going to add in a can of tomato sauce. Whichever take the tomato sauce you like to use, that goes right in there. I've got ½ of a teaspoon of kosher salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper.
All right. And this is the tomato sauce you make that just stays really basic, right?
It's very basic and simple, but it's really delicious. Now, I would recommend spending a little extra money on your tomato sauce to get something good, because that's going to make a difference in what your outcome of your sauce is.
Definitely.
And then so, you're right, this is simple. We've added a little oil, a little bit of garlic, salt, pepper, tomato sauce, and now I'm going to cheat a little bit. And I have this basil paste that I ran across a long time ago on accident. It was substituted in one of my Instacart orders. Yeah. And then I started using it in sauces and soups, and it works really great for those applications.
Yeah, he was like, what am I going to do with basil paste? Because, you know, he's like, everything's like from scratch. He ordered regular basil. And then he was like, well, this is what I got. I have to use it. And he really liked it.
So we're going to get 1 tablespoon of basil paste that's going to go into that sauce. And then we're just going to bring that up to a simmer.
But you could use regular basil.
You could absolutely use fresh basil.
Yes.
Yes. About 1 tablespoon of basil paste, stirring that in. That's going to cook and simmer for about 15 minutes or so, fish and cooking that garlic, and your tomato sauce will be ready at that point. Our mushrooms and onions and garlic, our seasoning are all sauteing up. I've got 1 teaspoon of liquid aminos that I'm going to add to the pan. You could use soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce. You don't want me to stir in the liquid aminos, just dive right in. Checking my seasoning.
I just, like I said, these combination of ingredients on their own. I have some onion, some garlic, a little bit of mushroom in here.
So these are going to continue to cook down until they start to brown around the edges. Then the mushrooms start to brown around the edges. That's when they're done. And then they're going to get pureed in a food processor, and then that's going to get mixed in with the rest of our mix. Got the sauce going, we've got our veggies going, we're going to get our bread going. I have a 17-ounce loaf of a French baguette. It's par-baked, and I don't know if you can see out there, but I have coated it with garlic butter.
You gotta coat it in garlic butter, right?
It's like a giant
What's
breadstick.
a meatball hoagie without being coated in garlic butter?
Yes, 1 giant breadstick for this sandwich. So, 2 tablespoons of butter melted with 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic salt, and this is going to go in the oven at 350 degrees just to brown up for our sandwich. So we'll get that going. We'll keep this going and get it pureed, and then we're going to come back and start building our vegetarian meatballs.
Yum.
All right, we are back. So our bread is baked up, so it's hard baked and ready for our sandwich to be built on. We didn't make it completely browned because you're going to fill it back up with your vegetarian meatballs and your sauce and your cheese and put it back in the oven. Our sauce is ready. It's time to taste that.
Oh, yeah.
So this was our simple ingredient sauce with garlic, salt, pepper, a little bit of oil, tomato sauce, and basil.
I can see some piece of garlic in there on one of those.
So simple to make.
I wonder if you guys
So
could even see
delicious.
it. You could see the pieces of basil, and garlic, and
Nothing overpowers anything in that sauce. The tomatoes go forward, but the basil and the garlic and the seasoning all kind of bring it all
Definitely
together.
taste
So it's
all
a
of
nice, well-rounded tomato sauce
fantastic, yes.
ready for our vegetarian meatballs.
Definitely.
So now it's time to start building these.
All right, let's see this.
We're going to start out with 1 package of Impossible Grounds. So if you've seen this in the store, and a lot of people know about Impossible Burger by this point, they sell it in ground packages, which makes it a little easier for us.
All right.
So we'll start with that. And we're going to mix in our mushrooms, onions, garlic seasoning we were sauteing. We ran it through a food processor, and now I've ground it. So it has like a ground type texture to it.
It does.
So that's going to go in there. So those are our 2
Yum.
proteins. We're going to mix in, maybe take that 2.
Are you finished with this?
I am. 1/2 of a cup of freshly shredded Parmesan cheese. So I get the Parmesan wedge, run that across the cheese grater, get yourself 1/2 cup.
Nothing like freshly shredded cheese.
That stuff is the way to go.
Yes.
Then I've got 1 cup, I'd say a little more than a cup, a very full cup of breadcrumbs. And I make my own breadcrumbs. So just toast in the toaster, let it cool down, run it through the food processor until you get that nice coarse breadcrumb texture. We're gonna have 1 cup in there.
Gotta have those.
All right, and 1 egg that's been whisked. Put it over the top.
All right.
And now we get to the fun part, right?
For you.
Gotta get messy.
This is where Kay takes his wedding ring off and then he taunts me. Just because your wedding ring's off doesn't mean you're single.
You know, you just cleaned that, so I'm trying to be respectful.
That is true. I guess I'll let you get away with it this time.
She spent some time, she got a new jewelry cleaner, and she was so nice to clean my ring, and we don't want to get the vegetarian meatball all
There you go. That is fair. I will let you get away with that one. All right, mixing that all in.
Bring it together. I've already got a baking sheet that I've put together and put some oil on, so that's going to be ready to go. I'm preheating my oven, 400 degrees.
I'm so excited.
And then we're getting this really well mixed. I mean, the hands are the way to go. You can use a spoon if you want, but it's better just dive in there, right?
Yeah, for him.
I can already tell consistencies on this is very good. They form a nice size vegetarian meatball. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Looks like the real thing, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And look at, you can tell how much flavor's in there just from all the delicious color, and yeah, you can see the cheese and the seasoning, and oh my gosh.
I go with
it's going to be so good.
A decent size vegetarian meatball because we're putting these on sandwiches. So
exactly.
If you make them too big, you can always cut them in half and lay them across the bread. There's nothing wrong with that.
Which I totally do the next day.
A little bigger than a golf ball.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much bigger than a golf ball. I totally do the next day. So if we have any left over, which sometimes we do, usually we don't because the kids just totally grab them, and sometimes we do. But if there's any left over, there'll be like one left over, and I'll like cut it in half and make myself like a little half sandwich for lunch the next day because they're so good, you guys.
Get yourself some bread and make it like a grilled cheese.
Yeah, that's what I do. I just take 2 pieces of like a piece of white bread, cut a piece in half, and like toast it or something.
Absolutely.
Put these on there, some cheese to melt it. Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm getting excited already.
I know.
So I'm gonna keep working through getting these together, and we're gonna get them in the oven, 400 degrees. Get them cooked, and then we're gonna come back and start building our sandwich.
Oh my gosh, these look so good. I can't wait to eat them.
All right.
All right, you want me to pause it? Because I don't want you touching my phone with those hands.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, no.
All right, our vegetarian meatballs are ready. It's time to wrap this up and build this sandwich. They've come out of the oven. They've cooked fully. They were nice and brown, looking good.
Looks so good.
It's like the real thing.
They do.
Cut off a piece of our Italian bread, or French bread, and then sliced it so it's ready to be our vessel for our meatball.
Yum.
We're gonna add a little bit of our tomato sauce right across the bottom there.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna start adding in some of our meatballs. Now, because of the amount of space I have here and the size of the meatball, I am gonna cut these in half and
All
kind
right, nothing wrong with
of fill
that.
those spaces.
Okay.
So piling those in as much as I possibly can.
Oh, these are gonna be so good.
Really good. Much like Sarah was saying before, so they're not dense at all when they come out. You look at that, they're nice and spongy. See that?
They're so good. They're very soft. They kind of give that melt in your mouth feel to them, but the flavors are so fantastic. I'm gonna grab some of the extra
Right,
here.
we should get a little piece for ourselves. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, it's so perfect.
You know, you might have been wondering, like, you put mushrooms in there. Does it taste like mushrooms? No, not really at all. There's like, it's very hearty tasting, I guess you could say.
It is. It's so good.
And that possible ground you put in there tastes very beef-like. So for those of us vegetarians that grew up eating meat, this is a great substitute.
Oh gosh, it's so good.
It's going to remind you of the real thing.
Definitely.
So I've got some provolone cheese I've cut in half.
Yes.
And when I layer them on there, I like to kind of mix them up so you're like one this way and one this way instead of just putting the whole.
Kind of overlapping them, but
as you go through.
There we go. So you're getting some nice cheese over the bread too. Is kind of what you're going for there.
So then it's sauce, meatball, sauce, and provolone. And this one is ready to go in the oven.
There you go.
But I went ahead and already put one in the oven.
Yes.
Because why wait?
Exactly.
Sarah's excited.
Oh yes. Ah, there it is.
It is looking good.
Love this stuff.
Right.
All right.
See if I still have some good kitchen hands. Oh, yep, not too bad.
Not too bad.
You see how that's melted nicely on there?
You just have to wait for the cheese to melt, right? Because everything's already cooked. You just have to wait for the cheese to melt.
That's all we're waiting for is cheese to melt. So I'm going to cut this.
And you're going to try to cut that in half. And then we're going to try to bite into this without making fools of ourselves on video.
Oh no, making fools of yourself on video trying to eat a sandwich that's way too big for your mouth is exactly what part of the fun is.
Okay.
Look at that.
Oh my God.
You could garnish that up with a little red onion or sliced pickle or add some hot sauce, or really by itself, it's good too.
Yes.
So we dive right on in. Cheers. All right, cheese just pull off there. The vegetarian meatball, really nice and soft. Sauce is flavorful.
The cheese with it, perfect flavor. You just use provolone on this, right?
Just provolone cheese. Put back in the oven, 400 degrees, for about 3 or 4 minutes, just to melt it.
Oh, I can't stop eating now.
Right? We're gonna be crushing these when we get done with this video. So that's all we have for you today. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. And we know there's a lot of great food out there in the world, so whether you're out on the road trying to find it or right in your own kitchen, remember to be safe, stay hungry. Bye, everybody.